Morning, Jim.
Morning, Bill. How are you doing today?
I'm here.
That's good. That's good. Every day is a good day, right? Morning, Frank. Morning, Angela.
Good morning. Good morning, David.
Oh, hi, Samantha.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dale.
Good morning. Sorry, I had a little delay here. I'm ready now.
Sounds good. Is Commissioner Conway with us?
Not yet, that I can see. This is Wendy.
Thank you. Commissioner Conway, good morning.
Good morning, Frank.
It is now 10 a.m. and this meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission comes to order. First order of business is to establish a quorum and conflicts of interest. Commissioner Nations, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Any conflict of interest?
No,
Commissioner Firebrand, Robin, are you here?
Yes.
Any conflicts?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Conway, are you here?
I am, and I have no conflicts.
Fantastic. Commissioner Ballard, are you here?
Present.
And myself, Commissioner Thorwald. Commissioner Ballard, do you have any conflicts?
No conflicts.
And myself, Frank Thorwald, and I am here and I have no conflicts as well. Moving on to the second agenda item, Administrator Samantha Roberts, would you proceed, please?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Thorwald. Wanted to first start with 2A on the agenda. It's a update from Proton Green, and I believe Marta is here to give that update. Marta, are you here?
Yep, I'm here.
Great.
Hey everybody. I just wanted I had a meeting with Samantha and Wendy a couple weeks ago to kind of give them an update on what's been going on with Proton Green recently and an update on our 11830 horizontal well. So I just wanted to jump on and give the commissioners an update as well. Currently, we are actively producing that well again. It was shut in for a couple months there, but it is actively producing. It's producing slowly as we do a bunch of pre-tests. Basically, we're in the process of doing some pre-treatment testing, basically to determine what we need to implement in our plant design. We're anticipating that's going to be about 2 more months at least of pre-treatment testing before we would potentially have to go back into temporary abandonment status, or may start producing the well again, producing the helium again. So that's where we're at on that well. In addition to that, just some other updates. I've been working with Wendy to work through all of the old Kinder Morgan well files and ensure that you guys have the proper documentation for each of those wells, and those match the files that Proton Green has inherited from the Kinder Morgan asset. So I've been working through that slowly, and we definitely have already found a couple that don't seem complete, but we're going to continue working through that process.
Thank you, Marta.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions?
Real quickly,
Uh,
this is Rick Zeiss, the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General. If Ms. Wasco could identify by which company she represents, just for the record, please.
Proton Green.
Thank you very much.
And if everybody else could do that as they speak, that would be very helpful for the record. Marta, I have a question for you. Proton Green's underground area that they're drawing from, does that extend over into New Mexico?
Our asset does not. The dome feature does, yes.
So there's no crossover at this point, or you don't know, or
Kinder Morgan released the assets in the state of New Mexico, so we did not acquire the rights to those assets. So while the dome structure does continue into New Mexico, we do not hold the leases for any of those.
Well, I was thinking about the sharing of gas and whether we needed to have an agreement with New Mexico on that.
I'm happy to set up a private meeting. We wouldn't be comfortable sharing in this setting the maps that I have of the structural maps, but I'm happy to set up a meeting with the chairman, or with Frank, or the rest of the commission to discuss those structural maps.
I think that would be good to have on a future agenda to see if we need that. Is there any other questions for Marta?
I have a quick question. Ms. Wasco, is it my understanding right now that you have confidential information in your maps, and rather than have them as part of a public meeting, you would rather have more of a private discussion with at least Chairman Thorwald, not the commission itself, and a public meeting? Is that what we're looking at?
I would say that's my understanding currently. I would have to go back to my management team to ensure in terms of what type of information they'd be willing to share publicly before I just wasn't prepared for the question ultimately.
I assumed that, quite honestly, and I just want to make sure we all understand. Thank you very much.
That could also be handled with Samantha as well.
Okay.
Samantha, go ahead, proceed.
Right, thank you. Item 2B is the Pinta Dome expired permits, and this is just an FYI for the commissioners. These are all the permits that expired, and we have been in contact with them, and they've indicated that there's no production. So we're just kind of letting you know of expired permits in this case. All right, any questions?
Mr. Administrator, this is Rick Zeiss from the Attorney General's office. Were any of those actually drilled? They are wells. Are there arrangements or thoughts in regards to plug and abandon?
Well, no, they were just permits. They weren't drilled. They were only permits, and they are now expired.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator.
Thank you. Okay, next, moving on to the Ranger Development Permit Extension request. Rather than going through, I guess, each one, I just wanted to point out that item J is a second request. So these are all this is all a new request from Ranger. And they also did provide us with their Form 1 organization report with the new managing partners and names. So I am requesting from the commissioners approval to extend all of the Ranger permits on this list.
This is Commissioner Nations. I move to extend extend the permits for a period of 2 years for all of the expiring permits that have expired on the 30th of April and May 16th.
Is there any other discussion? Is there a second? And is there anybody from Ranger here?
It's 2 years. I say 2 years now. I don't know if that's satisfactory to the operator or not, but it's a motion up for discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Nations. Again, is there anybody here from Ranger? Administrator Roberts, did they have a specific time that they wanted to extend this for?
They did not request a specific time.
Okay. Is there a second to Commissioner Nations' motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard. I guess I just make a comment before we vote. Of course, a normal permit period is 6 months.
I see, sorry, yeah, it does say 180 days. Correct.
And so I guess we should probably fall back on that as my recommendation, although these particular permits have had kind of a long history. There was problems with their being issued and things like that. And I'd really like to see Ranger get out there and get some of these wells drilled, but I believe the default would be 6 months.
Do we want to redo the motion then?
Well, Rangers asked for what, 18 months?
180 days.
180 days. Commissioner Nations, do you still want to keep your motion as is, or do you want to change it?
I'd like to leave it as is.
Okay. Do we have a second for Commissioner Nations' motion?
This is Mike Conway. I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Commissioner Thorold, I have a quick question. This is Rick
Yes.
Zeisman, Attorney General's office. The vote we just took was for 2C, all wells A through J. Is that correct? Because I'm not sure that we were very specific in regards to whether we're doing it by a single well at a time or all of them at once.
It was A through J.
Thank you.
Administrator Roberts,
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Myriad Resources. And I do believe either Brittany or Rob are available, but I'll go through each item. Item A is a new well drilling permit and spacing exception for the Aztec 2-35. And after review, recommend approval.
This is Commissioner Nations. I move for approval of the request for the drilling permit for Aztec 2-35, was Precambrian test.
we have a motion from Commissioner Nations to approve Aztec 2-35. Is there any discussion on this? Is there a member from Myriad here that would like to talk about this before we vote? Or ask for a second?
Good morning, everyone. This is Brittany Grasnick with Myriad Resources. I manage regulatory work for Myriad, and we have Rob Sterling on the line as well. He's our Vice President of Geology. As you guys have seen with our application, we are requesting an exemption to the spacing rule to have only one gas well per section. And the reason we're asking for that is we have drilled a well in this section prior. It was the Aztec 135. We tested it, and we had reason to believe that our wellbore maybe had some cement infiltration into the permeable formations. And we want to preserve that well in temporary abandonment status as an option to potentially use it for a produced water disposal well in the future if this Aztec 235 is successful and has associated produced water. So that's the basis of our request, and we are available for any other questions you guys have, you all have.
Is there any other questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard again. I just, I actually agree with Dale's approval of this. I just want to explain, you know, a second well within one spacing unit is unusual. The two wells, however, neither one will actually drain, so to speak, offset acreage. They are within the drainage radius that we presume for 640 acres. But I will point out that we actually don't know what the drainage radius for this formation will be. We have some previous experience on the record dealing with this interval, but you know, this is a totally new pool area. So I just point out that the two wells, if they were ever to be used both as producers, they would be within about 40 acre spacing. And of course, that might be the result of a development plan pending some more successful wells that you actually present to us as to what would be appropriate to do in there. So I guess I'm just saying I don't really see any downside at this point, but it should be a one-time thing, and as there's a lot more information that's needed to do a more precise job with well spacing, and also just to make sure that Myriad understands we are not approving a injector well in any way at this point. That's a totally different process. So if that happens down the road, that's a different process. Thank you.
Commissioner, this is Rob Sterling. I just want to add, thank you very much for saying that, because a lot is unknown about this formation. I'm familiar with the other situation that you're discussing, and I think that in a success case out here, as we get more information either from the rock and from well performance, we may be back to talk about downspacing. And if we do, that would be something that it would be justified based on the data and economics, and not just to do it at a whim. But thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion, questions? Do we have a second? Go ahead, Brittany. Please identify yourself and who you're with each time you speak.
Yes, sir. This is Brittany Grasnick with Myriad. I just wanted to confirm with Commissioner Ballard that we totally are on board and understand that the injection well process is a whole big separate other process. And before we even started down that road, we would discuss that with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, is there any other questions or discussions? And if not, do I have a second?
Robbins, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Aztec 235. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. None opposed, the motion carries. Administrator Roberts, can you take over from here?
Sure. The next item on the agenda is Myriad Resources temporary abandonment of Aztec 1-35 at number 1289, and recommend approval for temporary abandonment.
Is there any questions for Myriad?
This is Commissioner Nations. I think the questions about that have been answered already in the discussion of the approval of the drilling of the 2-35. So I move that we approve the temporary abandonment status for the 1-35.
Do we have a second for Commissioner Nation's motion?
This is Mike Conway. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any,
Oh, go ahead. Chairman Thorwald, I would like to make a comment after the motion is passed.
certainly. And myself is aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Commissioner Ballard.
Oh, just a quick comment. Like I say, I concur with everyone's approval. They did request 3 years, which is fine. Usually a 5-year period is a maximum, and some of the time may have already been used up. So I think 3 years is appropriate. But in order to enter a TA status, we do need a wellbore integrity test. So, just to remind the administrator and Myriad, try and get over there and take a pressure, see if it's holding pressure or something when we get processed for this TA. Thank you.
This is Brittany Grasmick with Myriad. Duly noted on that, Commissioner Ballard. We'll get back to you guys on that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thorwald, this is Rick Zeiss from the Attorney General's office. Do we want to put a time limitation upon a response from Myriad in regards to that testing?
Commissioners, how do you feel about that?
I'd have to hear that stated again. What was it?
The AAG Zeiss was asking if we wanted a time limit on them to do that testing.
My suggestion was 60 days or 90 days, just to ensure that it does not fall off of schedule somewhere, and that we move forward. And I assume that Myriad can then work through the AZOGCC administrator, but does the board itself want to make some recommendation or some finding?
Commissioners, what are your thoughts?
Well, this is Commissioner Ballard. I guess I started it all, so I think 90 days is fine. Normally, we make the award of the temporary abandonment, pending these little loose ends, but I think it's enough to just state that we expect to hear from them within 90 days.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Would you, do we have a second to his motion? And Commissioner Ballard, could you define that motion a little more clearly so we have it better for the record?
Of course. I move that we give Myriad Resources 90 days in order to satisfy the TA requirement of a pressure casing integrity test by pressure test for the 1289. Well, thank you.
Do we have a second for that motion?
Aye, Robbins, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion carries. Administrator Roberts, do you want to move on to the next one?
Yes, sir. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Myriad Resources extension request for Aztec 1-26. That's extension. I see you have in there May 16th. Is that, I guess?
This is Wendy
ahead,
Flood. That's when it's going to expire, so they're doing
Oh,
it
that's
ahead of
that.
time.
Okay. I was looking at that. Okay. So it would expire in May 16th of this year.
This is Commissioner Nations. Actually, my motion was to approve this one because of its expiration date on May 16th. I included that in my motion. these two wells that expire on that date as well. So that should already be taken care of.
Okay, so the motion is for Aztec 1-26 and Chimney Canyon?
Yes.
You
Okay,
have to make a new motion. This is Rick Sykes, Attorney General's office. I would suggest making a new motion or in the alternative, because I don't think the motion that was made was clear enough to include both, and I don't want troubles in the future. My suggestion is you either redo with both together or just do a second request for an extension so that we have a clean record. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Commissioner Nations, you want to modify your motion?
Yes, I would go ahead and move to approve the extension request for the Aztec 1-26 and the 1-9 extension requests for, I made a motion of a period of 2 years before, so I'll repeat that. Sorry about the confusion.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Nations.
Any discussion on that? Hearing none, do we have a second?
Aye, Robbins, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
okay.
Moving on to item C.
Okay, we're on actually item E, correct?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, rules and legislation timeframe updates. I don't have any updates at this time. Can we move on to item F?
Yes.
Okay, response to delinquent reporting letters. We followed the commissioner's recommendations, and we did receive responses from both Pinta South and Proton Green. So just wanted to give you an FYI on that. Wendy has been following up on making sure that we are receiving all the required reports. Any questions on that? Okay. Moving on to item G, again, on the permitting budget update, I don't have any additional information and no changes from the last meeting. The budget, the APAF budget remains the same. There were no changes. Any questions on G? Okay, moving on to H, the AZOGCC submission, review and discussion. I am working on a table. Wendy has it shown there. This is the information that Chairman Thorwald requested for the meeting in May. Still working on the completed wells, but this shows 24 and the status from 24 and as of today, what the status is for approved orphan well plumbing gain applications, completed well abandonments, operator abandonments, permitted wells, and current producing oil wells and helium wells, which I'm still working on those numbers too. So I will have that prepared for you by the time of your meeting, Mr. Chairman Thorwald.
Thank you, Commissioners. Is there anything else that you would like to have me present to the AZOGCC? Currently, I'm on the nominating committee and the finance committee at AZOGCC.
Chairman Thorwald, this is Wendy Flood. I believe that's action item under your report.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll then move on to the next one, 3, Orphan Wells Program Update. Administrator Roberts.
Okay. Thank you. Tina LePage is not available today, so I will provide as much information as I can. I believe one update that I did want to provide is that we have Andrew has left the agency, and is seeking other opportunities. And so Jim is taking over for Andrew. And are you available, Jim? Just introduce yourself.
He is here. This is Wendy Flood. I saw
Okay.
him.
Okay,
There he is.
Hey guys, can you guys hear me?
there
Yes.
he is. Hi.
How you doing, guys? My name is Jim Greenley. Looking forward to working with the program and see what we can get done this year.
Welcome.
Thank
You want to tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, so I used to be a staff geologist a couple years ago, and before that I was a Maricopa County air quality inspector, and before that I was in college. So I also speak Spanish, originally from Chile. So that's a quick little summary about myself.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is a description of responsible parties, and I think Commissioner Ballard, I think this is something that you had asked for on the agenda. Could you explain, just so I can make sure that I'm answering your question properly?
Well, this is Commissioner Ballard. We may want to delay this item to, when Tina can be here or whatever.
Okay.
The main issue that I'm not sure that the commission is aware of is that you're under some real heavy restrictions to select the wells that we are allowed to go ahead and plug and abandon on the orphan well program. And I guess I wanted to know an explanation, just so people will have that in their background. And I wanted to know if that's how that much how that requirement is restricting us. I mean, is it the wells that I think we're going to talk about in total soon that are designed for the program to complete? Is that all the ones that we're allowed to do because of this restriction on responsible party identification? I know we started out with a larger number of possible candidates. So I just wanted to get a feel for the impact of that particular requirement on the number of wells that we're being able to plug under the program.
Okay.
And we don't have to do it today.
Okay.
If Tina's not available, we can do it next time.
All right, understand. Thanks. Thanks for framing that, and gives me a little bit better understanding of what you want. Appreciate it.
I think that would also tie into DWR wells that we've talked about that were transferred.
The 5 wells. Yep. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman Thorwald. The next item on the agenda is under A-B, and this is approval of a number of orphan well plugging activities, and we have a table. I believe there's 37 wells on there, and we're asking for approval of all of these wells kind of in a lump consent, just because there is delays with the commission meetings every 6 weeks, and then trying to schedule field work. So if we can have a lump sum of these approved at a time, the team can move through quickly and get them abandoned as quick as possible before the ending of the grant, which ends in December.
This is Chairman Thorwald. We staff sent out an Excel spreadsheet, so it was actually more visible to everybody to be able to see that. What I'd like to do is to do this in a consent format for all of the wells at the same time. But what I'd like first to ask is there, commissioners, is there any particular wells out of that group that you would like pulled that we can talk about separately out of that consent group?
This is Fire Robin. I've got a question on one well.
Which well do you want pulled?
It's page 34, 20402.
This
Okay.
is Wendy Flood. Can you give me the full API number, please?
Sure. 02001 20402.
Okay.
Is there any others that you would like to have pulled?
Well, Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard. course, got this list pretty recently and didn't have time to look at things in real detail, I'm sorry to say. But I just the whole procedure made me go back and reread some rules. And I know we want to try and expedite the procedure to get all these done within the contract period and as soon as possible. But I think we might want to look at other alternatives to getting the Form 9s approved in a timely manner. Perhaps schedule some additional meetings from the commission every couple weeks or something. This is kind of a one-time thing. The problem I have is that the rules are very clear that we cannot approve, or the operator is not allowed to proceed with a plug-in abandonment. But I guess we are the operator to some extent, without fairly specific information that's listed specifically in the rules. We capture that on Form 9. It doesn't really specify Form 9, but it clearly lists all the things that we normally have on a Form 9, which is the details about the casing program and the perforations and the proposed plugs. All the information that you actually need to go ahead and do the work. So it's not like it's not going to be assembled. I realize that. But the way we have things set up now, I don't really think we can approve a Form 9 that's essentially blank in advance, so to speak. That's my position, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to ask our AAG Zeiss to weigh in on that.
So we had a discussion between the administrator, the AZZ administrator, and our office in regards to this approval process, Commissioner Ballard and all the commissioners. And Form 9 is not something that's required within the rules. It is something that is more of a policy position. And so our thinking was that as long as we provided the information necessary as part of the plug and abandon methodology, which is set forth in the rule. Well, I'm looking at R12-7-127, that you could move forward. However, if the commission wishes a different methodology, that is within their peer review, and I would look to them for further direction. Commissioner Ballard, I appreciate your comments. We had taken that into consideration, but again, if the commission wishes to move in a different direction or a different approval process, certainly they can do that. And given the ability to set emergency meetings on very short notice, that is an alternative. And with that, I will allow the commissioners further comment, or not allow, but look forward to further comment and how to proceed.
Commissioners, what do you want to do? What are your thoughts?
This is Commissioner Nations.
Proceed.
I'm a little puzzled about this whole process here. So try to correct me if you can. I thought that we could approve this whole list for plug-in abandonment because associated with that list is the explanation for each of those wells. And some of them are only like 100 feet deep, and some of them are 3,000 feet deep. So it's quite a variety. As long as that's covered by the paperwork that is submitted with that list, it seems to me we could go ahead and approve the whole list for plugging and abandoning, since the research has already been done on them. Now, that's just my thoughts about it.
Well, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Nations, I just want to clarify, there are two lists, or at least two, that we're talking about. And for this routine matter for business at this meeting, there is a list, I guess it's a little bit farther down the agenda, of wells that are to be approved for plug and abandonment on the normal Form 9. And they sent us all the documentation that we normally see. And with any opportunities for making any little corrections or something, we would proceed to approve all of those as we have in the past. This new list doesn't have any of that documentation in the files for us to look at unless we wanted to do the research ourselves. And of course, I completely agree with Rick's reading of the rules. The form is not specified. Form is not, but the specifics of what information should be provided is pretty precise. And a filled out Form 9 has all that information, but of course it's not the only way to convey it, or it's not required by the rules to use that certain form. But right now, the commission doesn't really have any information on this longer list of wells.
Other commissioners, your thoughts? Commissioner Conway, what are you thinking?
I don't really have anything to add to this.
Okay. How does everybody want to move forward? Do we want to proceed with some other method? What other method, if so, what other method would we move forward with? And how would that affect the plugging?
Well, just to be specific, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard again. I'm suggesting that we do all we can to expedite this process for the orphan well program. And if they would get us the next, I don't know how many wells are on here, maybe 30 or something. And I guess I have a general question if this is the full extent of the program that's anticipated at this time. But whether it is or isn't, getting a good chunk of these out, maybe another 10 or 15 of them next week, and in about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we go ahead and have a meeting to approve them. This isn't an unusual process for us to have this orphan well program, and I'm certainly willing to meet a little bit more frequently until we get past this and not inhibit this program in any way. But I don't think we can. Go this route. I think at one point the commission had more or less allowed the administrator to have delegated authorities, and that's really what we're talking about doing in this case. And without reliving that whole episode and why we have or have not delegated this authority to the administrator, as it is now, I think we have to see the Form 9s or the same information in a different form.
We have the AG's office has said we can do this, so I don't see that as an issue.
Is the specific information, Commissioner Ballard, that you're looking for on the Form 9 just the casing record?
Well, it's actually, of course, you need the casing record and the geologic tops, but of course, it's the actual alignment with the proposed plugs that with of course, the previous perforations, the geologically sensitive zones, the joints between the casing, just an appropriate procedure to plug a well is what is presented on Form 9. And I know it's a little unusual because since, like I said before, we're kind of the operator. In reality, Form 9 was to protect the operator so that they completely described the procedures that they were going to do. So when they went ahead and did it, we would be inclined to improve their Form 10. Because of course, if they didn't do what we wanted them to do, and they hadn't told us about it, they could have their Form 10 disapproved and their bond would be held in order for them to go back and do more work. So the whole system was really designed with a kind of a different slant than it has now. But I just don't think if we had thought out from the beginning that we wanted the orphan well program to run that independently of the commission, maybe we should have worked it out at that time. So all I'm thinking of now is how to speed up the system that we have to meet their needs.
Commissioners, would you want to, and this is actually also a question for our administrator, would you want to meet more often for the next few months to be able to do as Commissioner Ballard suggests, or do you want to just approve all of these at once? I need some input here and direction, so please speak up.
Well, this is Commissioner Nations. I move that we approve this whole list. I thought it was 41. The mention was made of 37 a while ago.
Commissioner Nations, it appears there's 39 on that list. I'm looking at it now.
Okay. yeah, the computer that was counting said 41, but regardless of that, I move that we approve this, all of the wells on this list for plugging and abandoning.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Nations. We have a motion. Do we have a second to Commissioner Nations?
This is Mike Conway. I would second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call on this one because we may not all agree on this one. Commissioner Nations, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Fire Robin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Conway, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Ballard, how do you vote?
Nay.
Commissioners, myself, Commissioner Thorwald, I'll vote aye as well. The motion carries. Commissioner, I would like to add to that staff, as we move forward with this, please provide the different things that Commissioner Ballard has brought up to him and to the rest of us, so we have that and know that it's been done.
Understood, Chairman Thorwald.
Okay. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Is that number 4?
3B, the
3B.
plugging applications.
Okay, great. 3B.
So I believe both HGC is here and Tetra Tech. Do you want to approve the plugging applications one by one, or do you want to approve plugging applications A through J? Do you want to go over each one of them?
Commissioners, how do you want to do this? Do you want to go through each one of them, or do you want to do it all at once?
Well, this is Commissioner Ballard. This is a totally different case. I actually think we should do them all at once, with the opportunity for any of the commissioners to answer brief questions about individual well.
Just a moment. One moment. I just remembered something that we almost made. I made an error here. That approval for all of the wells that we did, there was one that was pulled right up front. 0200. I don't remember that. We need to go back and deal with that one. From that
Correct.
consent agenda.
20402.
Yes, we need to talk about that one.
This is Fire Robin. First question. I apologize. I've got a whole bunch of windows. I'm doing other things. So it's kind of complicated to bump back and forth. Are we talking about the list that we received? I think it was Thursday, that had like 40 entries in it. Is that what we're talking about now? Or are we talking about the big long email a week and a half ago?
We're talking about, there's information in both, but it's the list that those 40 or so names, and that's the one you all had pulled.
Yeah, okay, great. That's on that one. I've got a point on the other list, but on that one, I was just curious. That whole 2402 has an existing company listed as operator, and I'm kind of just curious, for my understanding, how that hole comes down as abandoned and is on our list to do instead of the company that is listed as operator, since it's an existing company.
I'm looking at we can pull that one and do some more research. It's my understanding that there's a process that the Orphan Well program goes through where they have a potential responsible party company hired that looks through all of these things. They use a database called Clear, And it's my understanding that these wells have kind of went through that process, but if there's one that you know of that you know of has an existing operator, we can remove that from this list and do some more research to try to identify that.
That was the only one that caught my eye.
That was the one we pulled from the consent agenda.
It's on the attachment that, or the list that I received. Go down to page 34 and you'll see it there.
This is Whitney flood.
Oh.
This is page 34. But that's not
Okay.
the same well number you gave us.
Oh, really? Okay. It showed as 34 on my computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Wendy, can you pull up that well number that Commissioner Fire Robin mentioned, 20402?
Well, I don't actually see that one on the list. So that's
Okay.
where I'm having some confusion is
Okay.
I don't, on the master list, I don't even see that well number. I've been kind of looking at it.
I was trying to find it too.
Okay, this is the email that we got like 2 days ago.
Correct. And that is
Okay.
this list right here.
Okay. It shows Kinder Morgan as the operator. That's what caught my eye because they still exist. But that well may have gone through, some process.
I saw that when you pulled up page 34 on there, Wendy, it did show
Yeah.
Kinder Morgan.
Yes, Samantha, this is Marta Wasco from Proton Green. I was just about to IM you and say I see a couple, send a message in the comments saying I see a
Okay.
couple wells here that are both under Ridgeway, Arizona, as well as Kinder Morgan, that would be under Proton Green at this point and not, should not be on the orphan list.
Okay.
I'll send you a follow-up email.
So let's pull that one then.
Okay.
I think the API number. The API number was different.
Yeah. If we're gonna go, let me go to page. This is Wendy flood. Let me go to page 34 real quick. What my 34 says.
Yeah.
There were, from what I could see, there were 2 in a row. One was 0962 was the permit number, and that one's temporary abandoned in my records. And then it looked like there was a Kinder Morgan well that followed that one on the list.
1191
I
permit
can check that
number.
one as well.
Okay.
So it's 20.
Marta, is there,
This
was
is-
there, are there any other wells on that abandoned list that you saw that were incorrect?
I haven't seen the full list. This was, I just quickly saw the names and started pulling permit numbers. So I'm just double cross-checking my list.
This is Taylor
is that
Parmenter from
permit
the
1101? Is that what the permit number says on that?
1191 at the bottom.
Okay, yeah. I also have that one listed in
RAG,
temporary abandonment.
RAG is trying to chime in here, please. Thank you. Taylor?
yes, Taylor Parmenter from the AG's office. On that page 34 on the longitude, it does have the 2402, which seems to be the numbers that the commissioner was pointing out.
Oh, okay.
So I think that that's what that reference was to.
Thank you, Taylor.
So it's permit number 1191. And then was there another one go up one? No,
It was
down?
the Ridgeway.
Okay. And then Ridgeway permit number, I can't read that bottom number.
0962.
0962 I have is listed as temporary abandoned on my side of things. And then for 1191, we have a vertical weld that was plugged in abandoned, and then we have it appears to be sidetracked from what I can tell quickly, just looking at it. And that one is temporary abandoned. But I can provide the documentation to Wendy and Samantha as needed.
Okay, so from the list, we need to pull permit numbers 0962 and 1191 from the approvals.
Would it be possible to share this full list so that I can just verify that no other wells are on my list?
Yes.
Thank you.
You might want to send her the spreadsheet rather than the other list. It's next to impossible to read that
Sure.
list.
Yes.
This is Fire Robin. Just point out, I'm referring to API number, but now that I know that you use the permit number, I'll make note of that if I have any questions in, kind of in the future.
Okay.
AAGs, given that we voted on these, but this was a particular one that was pulled up in front. If there's any others, how do we handle that?
My suggestion right now would be to have Ms. Wasco take a look at the list or suspend the approval today pending review by Wasco and Ms. Wasco in regards to wells that are not that are part of another company's temporary that need to be plugged and abandoned, however, have owners, because it would be I do not think it would be advisable to the commission to plug and abandon a well that is currently owned by another company that is not appropriately identified within our orphan program, specifically because there are monies that are put on deposit, and it would be better to make companies who are drilling out there responsible for plug and abandon as part of their permit. So I would leave it up to the commission or to determine how to move forward. But one suggestion is to put the entire vote in abeyance at this time, or in the alternative.
Can we put this in abeyance and pending a review by staff?
That would be my suggestion, and to reactivate it would require another meeting, I believe. But certainly we can get together in the next week and have an emergency meeting with appropriate notice to revisit the issue. That's my suggestion.
I'm going to make that my motion,
Okay.
that we do that, and that we do we have a second for that?
Fire Robin, second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. It is in abeyance pending staff review, and it will need to be brought up at another meeting, and we can have a special meeting to deal with that.
And just for clarification, this is the Orphan Wells program that was voted on under agenda item 3B, 3AB, correct? Just for appropriate identification. Thank you.
Okay, now we can move on. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So new plugin applications, and this is item 3B, items A through J, and it's my understanding that the commissioners would like to do this.
In a consent agenda. Is there, commissioners, is there anyone you want to pull out of that list before we ask for a motion to approve?
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard. I just had two comments on this list, and I would like to see them all approved for plugging. They're well documented. I would just like to point out that the first well, 05065, is one of the wells that are being approved, and there's one small error on the Form 9 that can be corrected by the administrator and the contractor. The well is very poorly documented, and the interval, which would be the Coconino, is incorrectly identified. It would be very near the TD in the well, which is clearly proven by other nearby wells in the area. So I just wanted to make the correction to move the plug. I think there's a 2-plug program. Move the plug that's at kind of intermediate depth down as far to the total depth as possible, just in case we can get to the Coconino. Obviously, we haven't been able to do that in every case, so we're going to do what we can, but that should at least be the objective. The only other well I have a question about is not really a technical issue, but one of the agenda items is actually a response to a previous situation. I think actually, once again, the Form 9 was already approved, but we're talking about the 05029. You can see it under item I.
Yes.
I believe we're just going to get the commission informed on a contact that was made about this well. This well is potentially productive within the Macaulay field, and I think we just wanted to contact the operator and see if they wanted to take responsibility for it rather than plug it.
I can speak to that. I do have some notes from Tina in regards to this, and Andrew had reached out to Desert Mountain Energy, and they said no, they did not want to take over. So
okay, thank you very much. That concludes my questions. Anybody else?
In that case, do I have a motion to approve the new plugging applications in agenda item 3B, A through J?
This is Commissioner Nations. I so move.
Do I have a second?
By Robbins, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to C. Administrator Roberts.
item C is the wells that were plugged and followed by their Form 10 reports. I believe both the contractors are here to discuss, but I would like either Tetra Tech or Hydrogechem, if they could talk about wells that they had variances on.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner Ballard again. And as much as I love details, I read all these files. I would actually default to the plan, having the commissioners ask specific questions or comments, and then move.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding
approval?
You're fading
in.
They're all very thorough.
Commissioner Ballard, you were fading
That's
in and
what
out there. You're fading in and out. You seem to have frozen. It seems like we've lost Commissioner Ballard for a moment.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Nations.
Go ahead, Commissioner Nations.
These wells have already been plugged. I don't know what action is being requested here.
Just acceptance of the Form 10s.
Acceptance of the plugging reports.
Correct.
No. Well, I so move that we accept the plugging reports for items 3A, A through.
Before Commissioner Nations, before you proceed, give a moment or two for Commissioner Ballard to rejoin us. We seem to have lost him for a moment.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you. I'm back. It dropped all the way out and then automatically reopened. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to approve the list.
Okay, Commissioner Nations, you want to go ahead with your motion?
Yeah, I
Excuse
move that
me.
we approve the plugging records for wells C, item A through K, as being plugged already.
Okay. Do I have a second for that motion?
Fire Robbins second.
Okay, any discussion before we vote?
I have a point.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Let me be sure now. This is from that like 700-page email we got a week and a half ago. All those wells that have been plugged.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah. So going through those, kind of the couple that caught my eye, I had the impression that we were going out and locating the wells, as part of the identifying exactly where they are. But I may be wrong. I noticed going through the timesheets that there were a couple of wells. The worst I saw, the drilling company spent 2.5 days looking for a well. And using a drill company to find a well is can be kind of an expensive way to find it. And I think there was one well that they spent like a day and a half and never found it. So that thing is, remains unplugged. So just kind of clarification, I thought as part of our process in this whole scheme earlier on is people went out and identified there is a well here and this is where it is. And if we did that, somehow the information sometimes is not getting through to the, contractor that we're using. That was my only point.
Administrator Roberts, your comments to that?
Yeah, point noted. I can inquire with the program on what their process is and I guess why they're taking additional time in finding wells that should have already been located with GPS.
I'd be,
Hey, this is
sorry.
Michaela Bennett with Tetra Tech. If you can hear me, I can speak a little bit to that. So a couple of these wells we identified utilizing magnetometry. So they were below surface. And we do have requirements to have cultural clearances complete before we do any type of intrusive work. So having the area of the well located, or what we thought potentially through magnetometry, is where we spent a little bit of that time trying to find the well below surface based on the anomalies that we saw. But we cannot dig out the well if it is below surface until we receive those cultural clearances, just to be clear.
If Fire Robin, again, my last point, if it helps at all, I can give you the API number and the page on that 700-page document that the particular wells are, what pages they're on, if it helps.
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead and provide that then.
Okay. So let's see, first one was API 02017-05146. That was on page 501 on my computer. And it looked to me on the timesheets, they took 2.5 days looking to find the well. That, look at page 542. Now the next one was API 02017-05033. And it Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong on that one, I think. No, that's correct, the API. And if you go down to like page 571, 572, you'll see they spent that time looking for the well and it was never found. And then the next one was API 02-023-05002. And it's page 619. And it was kind of a weird setup where the well was at the bottom of a pit that's like 15 feet in diameter and 8 feet deep. And I just wanted to check to be sure the contractor knew that was the physical setting, before they went out there. Those are my points.
This is Abra Bentley with Hydrogeochem. Could I just speak to that last well that you
Sure.
just described? Yeah, and the photo log is showing it there. We did know about it.
Perfect.
The owner knew about it, and it was in a big sinkhole, so we didn't have to look for it, but we had to do some work to try to get to it. We had to fill in the pit first.
Sure. Okay. I just want to be sure you knew ahead as a contractor the situation that we're sending you into. That was my only point.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we do have is there any other questions on that? Hearing none, we did have a motion. Did we have a second?
By Robbins, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is for the approval of the Form 10s for the plugged wells. This is C, A through K. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to item 4, Commissioner's Report. Commissioner Ballard, Arizona Helium Production Report.
Excellent. Yeah, if you could just start with the first slide. This is a short presentation I put together just to let everybody know where we were with helium production at the end of 2024, and there's good news. So this first slide just reminds everybody that we actually keep track of helium production throughout the state of Arizona. Of course, that includes the area up in the Four Corners, which is actually regulated by the Navajo Nation. So we're, of course, going to be focused on the Holbrook Basin, which everybody's pretty familiar with. If you could move to the next slide, please. Let's see, do I have control?
I do. It's Wendy Flood. Just let me know what you need.
Here you go. This is it. It looks a little busy, but this is our own AZOGCC, our GIS map of the Holbrook Basin area. And this map covers all of the helium activity within the Holbrook Basin. So it's kind of interesting to see how concentrated it is. But we're really going to be talking about 2 projects. One, and they have big black arrows. One of them is up in the Pinta Dome area, and the one that was just being highlighted, of course, is the St. John's project, which we heard a little bit earlier about Proton Green's operations there. Both of those projects are producing and are responsible for the helium production we have down here in the Holbrook Basin. Just as an aside, if you've been around a few years, these are all the exploration wells which have been drilled since 2016, with the results in the form of red dots are a discovery of helium. Any kind of circle of red is either a discovery or a field. If you can go to the next slide. Okay, this is a portion of a big spreadsheet that we keep up on all of the production well by well in Arizona. It goes back to 2014 because that's when an older system, a paper-based system, ended. So this is a linear continuation of it. And this is the relatively small number of wells that are producing helium in the Holbrook Basin. Each year is a column, And so you can see the number of wells in each column are the ones that are producing. The orange are helium wells. And the good news is in 2024, we added a considerable number of wells, which is very good news, of course. One of the big areas was south of Pentadome. We have five wells now reporting production there. And we have one large project, St. John's, with one well producing quite a substantial amount of gas. If you go on to the next slide, I'll show you how that comes about. Just briefly, this is one of the wells that were drilled south of Pentadome. They drilled the wells over several years and have put, I believe, 5 of them. Yes, 5 of them are now online, going to the helium plant at Pentadome. This is an air rig going down about 1,000 feet. The main objective for them is the Shinnerow. You go down to the next slide. This is a map of the Pentadome area, structure map. Of course, we have the main Pentadome field, Navajo Springs. Those are the ones that are being redeveloped by Ranger. And then this new area down to the south, I have labeled Saddle Horse Draw. Not my choice. That was a choice of the operator. And as I said, the solid red wells have actually been put online and are reporting production. So we actually have a new field in Arizona, and it's Saddle Horse Draw. And that's, I guess, we have a very strong reaction against that name by the commission. It seems fine to me. Could we have next slide? I think it's probably the last one. No, one more. Proton Green slide from their website. I wanted you to see a picture of the new helium facility. That's now the second operational helium facility within the Holbrook Basin. And this is, of course, used primarily to separate the helium from the CO2, which is a large component of the gas there. So as was kind of referred to earlier, there's one well that has been on and off. It was on for a good part of 2024, and it's a horizontal segment well. It was drilled about 10 years ago. There are several horizontal segment wells drilled in that field. Okay, so the next slide, I think, is the culmination. This is the picture of Arizona net helium gas production in this case, going back, like I said, to about 2014, 2015. The curve on the top is the one for the Holbrook Basin. And I'm pleased to report that because of the contribution of those two new areas, in particular, St. John's, helium production is up 8% in the Holbrook Basin, which is great. The other curve is probably a little bit less interest. That's the Four Corners area. They've been maintaining a fairly steady amount of helium production over the years, and they have 12 helium wells. They also have 2 oil wells, which I haven't plotted. They're down to a very, very small amount of oil. And Holbrook Basin now has, I think I referred to the number before, 15 active helium wells. So good news, I would say. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Commissioner Ballard? Commissioner Ballard, thank you for this presentation. It was very good. I liked it very much. In fact, I would ask staff to be able to post this on the website. And Commissioner Ballard, if you could make a copy available that we could use with the legislature, I'd appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you. Hearing no questions for Commissioner Ballard on that, again, thank you for the presentation. Let's move on to the next item 5, the chairman's report. Discussion, the first one is 5A, discussion and updates on state federal rulemaking and legislation. The legislation that we spoke about in the previous did not get through the House and was held back. So it has not moved forward. There is discussions going on some of the legislation to put that into the budget. So there is still options for that. There is discussions going on with the governor's office and with DEQ with regard to those same points, but nothing final to report on that. With regard to the rulemaking process, what I would like to do is to move that forward a little bit faster from the commissioners And I would like to see us put together 3 teams, two of us on each team, so that we don't violate any meeting laws. And I'll be the one separate one out of that group to work on it, since I've already been working on it for a while, and just go back and take a good look again at the recommendations by the AZOGCC, and I'll just divide those up and we'll send them out to everybody so that they're equal. Take a look at that, see if you see any changes or anything, modifications to those that we didn't do previously or that have changed since then. And then collectively put together suggestions for things you think need to be changed and put into rule as we move forward. I think this is important so we can have something by our next meet in 6 weeks, at least have a discussion on this and bring back your preliminary work. And then after that, try to finalize that so we can have something in the fall of the year to present with regard to the rulemaking to Kirk for changes as we move forward and apply for an exception from the governor's office. Does that work for everyone? Commissioners, your thoughts on what I'm proposing?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Commissioner Nations.
Okay. Commissioner Nations, do you want Commissioner Ballard? How about the 2 of you working together?
That'd be fine.
Okay, Commissioner Fairrobin and Commissioner Conway, do you want to work together?
I'm good with that.
Commissioner Conway, is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, great. We will get that taken care of. Staff, I sent you over a number of items. Wendy, did you get that? Can you pull out of that? If you can't, the AZOGCC recommendations. If you can't, I can give you scanned copies that are not editable.
This is Wendy Flood. Are you referring to item C on the agenda, the model legislation, that information, or something else?
I'm referring to the email that I sent you from that had the communications with regard to rulemaking from the AZOGCC and between DEQ staff and myself. I sent it to you this week.
Okay, so it's not part of the meeting then itself. It's something separate. That's what you want sent out to the commissioners?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
You and I can talk offline.
Yeah.
And
Just
divide
make sure
that up.
it's the right thing. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Then the next thing on the is item C, 5C, discussion of the model legislation regarding storage of carbon dioxide and geologic structures. That's coming up at the AZOGCC conference. And also I've been in discussions with the governor's office and with DEQ about proceeding on that. Now that is that we were already sent out to you. It is titled Chapter 1, Geologic Sequestration of Carbon Dioxide. And it is about 12 pages long. I'd like to get your comments and thoughts on that. Have you all reviewed it?
I have not yet reviewed it. This is Mike Conway.
Okay.
Chairman Thorwald, I do have it pulled up if there's anything you want to specifically look at or see.
Good. Could you make it a bit larger so us older people with
Tell me if this is better. It's
yeah.
better?
Can everybody read that all right?
Yeah,
Good.
perfect.
I hate to take our time to do this, but this is going to be brought up next month before our next meeting at the AZOGCC, and we have to vote on it. And also, the governor's office is looking at it right now. And part of this, the package that was submitted a year ago from ASU that we'd gotten a year ago, that talked about all of this, the support from the different communities for sequestration, the projects at the time, and so forth. I would like to go through this simply because of the time frame, and I know it may take us a little longer than it otherwise, but could you just look at this first section, section 1.1, and see if you have any comments on that? Just take a moment to read it.
This is Commissioner Nations on this.
Yes, Commissioner Nations.
I wanted to refer this to Mike Conway. Mike is directly involved in past studies of greenhouse gas emissions. I have done so of myself and some on a consulting basis. I really like the fact that they're going into the AZOGCC is looking into this the way they are. I think a lot of it goes well beyond any interest in Arizona. However, Arizona does have some commercial potential. So those are just my personal thoughts. And so what I'm doing is I'm endorsing the attempts that are being made to regulate this use of recycling of carbon dioxide.
Well, let me jump in and say, I'll give you a little more background. I should have done that up front. All of the producing states, including Canada, have had input into this. So we have quite a few states and the federal government, Department of all of the departments that have related input, Department of Energy, Environmental Protection Agency, Interior have had input in it as well. And this has been the result. I've been involved in it as well through this process. So this has been the result of over a year's worth of work to come to these things. And a lot of this is generalized so that the states can put their specific things into rule and move as information changes, we can modify it to make it more effective in what we're doing. With regard to the state of Arizona, each of the utilities want to move forward with this type of thing. The Geologic Survey has projects that are working on this as well. So does the Arizona State University, has different kinds of things. And I know the survey is partnered with others on this, and there are a number of different projects. In fact, Marta, are you still on? No, she's not. Proton
No,
Green.
I'm still here.
I know you weren't prepared for this, but can you tell me what Proton Green is doing right now on the carbon dioxide, or what the plans are?
Yeah, sure. I can jump in and give a little bit of an update. We are part of the ASU Southwest Region Direct Air Capture federal grant. Currently, where we're at is in the feasibility study. That's what this grant is for. We're working with New Mexico Tech specifically within that grant to do some of the feasibility and subsurface modeling work for the St. John's Dome area. Kind of still at the beginning stages of that modeling work, so don't necessarily have any specific updates on it yet, but that's kind of where we're at on it.
Thank you. There are a number of different projects in the state, so it's not just them. I think there's 3 or 4. Excuse me, at this point. in the state. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head. Commissioner Conway, do you happen to know?
I do not know.
Okay. Anyway, that's the basis for this. Does anybody see in section 1.1 anything that gives them heartburn or makes them feel good?
This is Mike Cowie. This looks very good to me.
Okay. Any commissioners, any other thoughts? Because I'm going to ask you at the end of this to say we endorse this or not and have a vote on it more than likely. So that's why I'm doing this. Hearing nothing else on 1.1, let's move to section 1.2 definitions. That's pretty obvious. Is there
Commissioner
any?
Thorwald, can I
Yes,
step in for just a minute?
sure.
I do not see under this discussion the ability to vote an approval of it. You can submit recommendations, but I don't see. So that may have to wait for the next meeting. I hate to interrupt you, but I would caution you about moving forward with some type of approval.
Okay, then we won't. Let's just have the discussion and tacit comments on it, and I'll use that. Section 1.2 definitions, pretty obvious. Do you see any definitions that are not included, or do you have any problem with the definitions that are there? Any comments on that section? Okay, let's move on to section 1.3, the antitrust immunity.
I'm sorry, this is Wendy Flynn. Where are we?
Section 1.3,
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
right there, antitrust immunity. There's on the second line, you notice joint or cooperative development of a reservoir or portion thereof. That's to allow that's obvious, and I think that's a key point. I just wanted to make note of that as you're reading it. Any comments on that? Okay, hearing none, move on to 1.4 penalties. Are these sufficient, the way it's worded for you folks, for the commissioners? Any thoughts on that, commissioners?
Well, this is Commissioner Nations. It says there is liable for civil penalty, but it doesn't define the amount.
No, that would be done under rule.
Yeah.
That would be rules that will be additional rules that we will have to work on, and this will be part of that as we move forward. In those rule things that we discussed earlier, part of the IOG, this would be part of that. And we would need to do this in conjunction with DEQ and others. Any other questions there or thoughts? Does anybody have a problem with that section? Okay, let's move on to section 1.5. Pretty clear. Any questions there?
I have the mute on, but this is dragging on for a few more minutes.
Let's move on to subchapter B, sequestration facilities, section 1.11.
This is Commissioner Nations,
Yes, Commissioner Nation.
and I'm a little puzzled about all the legalities involved here. But a sequestration facility, is that an actual storage facility, or is it a reference to the formation underground storage facility? What does that refer to?
Both. The processing, the pumping, the underground storage, all of it. And there's obviously liability if the CO2 got into the water, it could pollute water. It also, if it was released into the atmosphere, what the liabilities are. That's part of the reason through all of this is to for the companies that have responsibility for this, and then after the project is finished, how long before the state assumes the responsibility, which 10 years after the closures of the facilities, that type of thing, which more is, there's more in there. I know there's a lot of legalese in this in some respects, but and then a fund to set it up if there is a problem and how that would be handled, that type of thing. So, and the fees that would be charged. Some states have already been doing this for some time, like Texas. AZOGCC, can I ask the commissioners, is this, I know this is taking more time than I would like, but that any of us would like, but can I ask them to provide to staff their thoughts on all of this?
You can ask them to provide staff, but there cannot be any contamination isn't a good word, but there could be no cross emails for a discussion other than in a public meeting. However, if you wanted individual comments in regards to it, you could have each of them submit to the administrator, and then upon putting on an agenda in a regular scheduled meeting, circulate the notes among the board members prior to for an open discussion at a appropriately noticed meeting.
I'm afraid we have to go through this, folks. So if you all just, how do you want me to do this? One at a time, or do you want to just read it all right now? Because we've got to talk about this before the meeting next month that I go to. I have to take.
Commissioner Thorwald, what about just having if we're going to have a special meeting in regards to previous discussion of the abeyance of that vote, would it be better to allow them to digest this? And by that, I mean the commissioners digest this document among themselves, provide comments, and we can have a meeting either next Friday or the Friday after upon, appropriate notice.
That's a good suggestion. Commissioners, does that work for you? But I absolutely need to have you provide that comments to it. And if we don't, then we'll need to go through this page by page. Does that work for each of you?
Hi, Robin. It'll work for me.
Okay. Commissioner Conway? Does that work for you?
Yeah, this is Mike County, and that works just fine.
Commissioner Ballard?
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Fire Robin?
He's on mute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Commissioner Nations, does that work for you as well?
Yes.
Okay, then let's just do that. Please go through this thoroughly and write down your questions and thoughts, and we'll bring it up in the next meeting.
Chairman Thorwald.
Attorney General Zeiss again, if you could direct any of your comments to Samantha Roberts as the AZOGCC administrator, so we avoid any problem of cross-contamination. And then upon notice of meeting, we will forward any comments subject to an open discussion in a public meeting.
Thank you. Wendy, you had started to say something.
Yes, this is Wendy Flood. I just wanted to make sure that that the commissioners check their schedules for next Friday or the Friday after to make sure we have quorum, so that you can get your vote and your recommendations if we're going to do it that way.
Commissioners, how do those dates work for you? This would be the 2nd.
I can make it. This is Mike Conway.
What date again?
May 2nd, Friday.
Yeah, it's okay with Commissioner Nations.
It's okay with myself, Chairman Thorwald. Is there okay with everybody else?
I'm okay.
Okay, it looks like that's a good date, Wendy.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Nations. I'm still a little puzzled about what our objective is here.
Our objective.
We're approving of the procedure as is outlined to be carried out by states. So we're not in a position now of making rules, are we?
No, what we are in a position to is to determine whether we like this or not as is, and if we have any final suggested changes, so that I can present those suggested changes to the IOGCC.
We don't need to come up with specific recommendations of how to achieve these objectives.
No, we just, in general, if terms at this point, once this is approved by the IOGC, it's finalized, then we can use it to as a guide for developing the rules from that, which we would need by fall.
Are we going to be receiving a document of this document?
You should already have that document.
Yes, Commissioner Nations, this is Wendy Flood. This specific information was sent out over a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, separate from other meeting information. It was sent to all of your emails.
This is Assistant Attorney General Zeiss. Ms. Flood, if we could send another copy just so it's at the top of everybody's email, rather than having people try to search for it, please.
Yes, I agree with that.
Thank you. Moving on to 5D. We have some, I wanted to know what I should be presenting to the IOGCC besides of course, what we just talked about. I've asked staff to put some things together. They mentioned earlier with regard to the production here in the state, how much, what we've been plugging, that type of thing. Is there anything else that the commissioners would like to have me present to the IOGCC at our annual meeting?
This is Commissioner Nations. I don't know if it's appropriate for you to outline to IOGCC what the next statement on the agenda might lead to a discussion of future potential of helium, oil and gas, and carbon dioxide, and so on.
Yeah, thank you. Hearing nothing on the previous one. If you think of something by the next meeting, put that on the staff, put that on the agenda, and we can bring it up. But
yes.
What on D, what I wanted to talk about, Commissioner Nations, you've done work on this in the past on the potential for shale, oil, helium. other things here in Arizona. I've looked at your work, and you and I've had presentations on this. Commissioner Conway, the Geologic Survey has done things like this. And of course, USGS, I was just on a call with them talking about geologic hydrogen in the state. And I know one company is looking at that here in Arizona and working on that. So I wanted for all of us to talk about that and to look at what kind of presentations we can make, each of us in these areas, you Commissioner Nations, you Commissioner Conway, and see if we can get somebody from USGS to talk about these things as well at one of our, not our special coming up meeting, but the special one, but at our next regular meeting to talk about these potentials in Arizona. What I'm trying to think about is planning for the future, not only staffing requirements for Oil and Gas Commission, what do we need as far as expertise, but also for discussions with the legislature and bills or legislation that may be moving forward or be presented this next year. So that's where I'm going with that. Commissioner Nations, do you think you could present something at our next regular meeting to talk about this?
Yes, I could. As a matter of fact, I'm glad this is coming up. I just published a book that I'd like you to look at before trying to show it. That relates to that on the Navajo Nation, which is where most of the resources of Arizona lie. So the book is myself and Henry Haven, my co-author, and it's entitled The History and Economic Resources of the Navajo Nation. And we've tried to review all of these resources: oil, gas, helium, hydrogen, uranium, everything is that we've tried to cover in that book. So that's something that I could do.
That would be great. I know that you've talked about shale in the past too,
we've already said that in the past there's probably no potential, but I guess I'd have to qualify that as just saying there's very little potential for oil shale.
I remembered you mentioning something about that in the Holbrook region, but
Yeah.
Commissioner Conway, can you look from the survey's perspective? Can you present anything at our next meeting?
This is Mike Conway. A better choice would be Brian Goatee, who's intimately involved now with carbon sequestration, both with ASU and with the survey. He would have much more knowledge than I do.
And that would be good because we should include the carbon sequestration as and the natural carbon and so forth. That if you could arrange for him to be at that meeting, it would be great. And staff, do you want to reach out to USGS or should I?
I can reach out to the USGS.
Okay, is there anybody else that we should reach out to with regard to this? If you think of anybody, just
I do have a question. When is the time of that next meeting?
That
the
would
day and
be
time.
when is that regularly scheduled next meeting?
June 6th.
Okay.
And that's at 10 a.m.
Correct.
And you're looking, Chairman Thorwald, you're looking for a 10 or 15-minute presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get with Brian and Brian and the director of the survey, Phil Peartree, and see what we can do.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item 6 on the agenda. I haven't missed anything, have I?
I will pull it up so we can double check. There you go.
Call to the public. Is there anybody that would like to address the commission? Again, is there anybody that would like to address the commission? Hearing none, let's move on to item 8, announcements. Is there any other announcements or any announcements? Hearing none, is there anything on for the future agenda? I skipped that we want to have on the agenda besides what we've already discussed.
Chairman Thorwald, this is Wendy Flood. I would like to clarify, since we actually have 2 meetings coming up, May 2nd. I believe if that was the day we wanted for the comments, and then we have June 6th. So I just want to make sure that I have the right agenda topics for the first meeting that we had, that you all had talked about.
The 6th will be the follow-up on the approvals that we put on abeyance, and for the AZOGCC material on carbon sequestration. And the others will be for the regular meeting that we would excuse me, not the 6th. That would be, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What I just said is for this the second Friday, the 2nd. Sorry.
Yeah. So May 2nd will be the model legislation discussion and vote. The AZOGC suggestions, recommendations, and information, correct?
Correct. Sorry for the date confusion there.
Okay, so that's basically it's 5C and 5D.
Right.
Okay.
And that would be what we have on an abeyance right now. And then June 6th would be for the other.
But everything else. Okay.
Yes.
Or what you all bring up right now. Thank you.
Oh, so this is Commissioner Nations. Would you repeat that? June 6th is the date of that presentation you're asking?
Yes, at 10 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other things that commissioners you would like on the agenda? And we've had no announcements from the public, so we go to number 9. This meeting of the Arizona Oil and Gas Conservation Commission is concluded at 11:49 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.